Sovereign Foods operates broiler farming, food processing, animal feed milling and value-add poultry processing and trading, mostly in the Eastern Cape. Market cap of 435.3 million rand, price to earnings ratio 4.6, dividend yield of 2.8. Sovereign Foods, is the story getting even hotter?
Look, they're going the sort of food processing route. They've got that product called chicken tizers, which, is sort of frozen stuff that you can use. The idea being that middle income families are going to want to do more of that sort of easy, quick to prepare type stuff in this country, and I think that's fine. As a company, it's done all right. I don't know why, but the
share price it hasn't done too well.
Sort of drifting around a little bit there, and it's looking a little bit worrisome towards the end. But again, I suppose they're all waiting to see what kind of impact the tariff changes might have and how that might benefit them. I know for a fact, I've got a friend who runs a sort of meat reseller in the King Williamstown area, and all of his stuff comes from Brazil.
Daniel, are you concerned about that share price?
Look, in this space, like I mentioned previously, I'd be concerned about any of these stocks because any number of issues could impact them. So if imports don't slow down, if the brining issue is a negative surprise, if the retailers continue to place price pressure on them, if the consumer continues to be strained, any number of these factors could create an increased negative sentiment towards them. There is some positivity, like I mentioned before, with the much better than expected second half from Astral, but at this point it's quite easy, at this point it's too early rather, to sit back and say the tide has turned for these guys.
Paul, if they haven't reacted to the tariff relief, then surely this is an opportunity to buy into some of these stocks that are looking a little soggy.
Yeah, perhaps. Look, I just want to point out, I got the share prices wrong there a moment ago. In fact, Sovereign is the one that has been perking up and Country Bird's the one that hasn't. So that's important to note. Sovereign is the one where it appears the regional story and the food processing innovations and so on have been well received.
So the graph's not doing it justice there then.
Yeah, well that's just because it's a 5-year chart. But if you look at that little perk up right on the far right hand side, that's the move back to the sort of R5.50 level that I implied. Whereas Country Bird is the one that's been sagging down at R2.90.
So perky, does that translate into hot?
Look, I think there is a bit of a recovery story here, but it's too small for me and too much of an execution play. So I'm going to go with not hot.
Daniel?
I mean, if you look at the last year or so of the financials for these companies, Sovereign had probably the best outcome from the guys. I think one of the reasons is because they are a much more focused regional player, which means that they were probably more protected from the imports, especially those imports coming into the Western Cape, because they're more focused on places like the Eastern Cape. So that's probably held up the share price quite nicely. But in terms of getting excited from this point, I'd say there's not enough there currently, and I'd say not.